So, you want to play Tactical Nexus. The game went free, I want to say about a month or so back. Maybe earlier, I've lost track of the time. But you want to play it. But for one reason or another, you find that it's quite a lot to deal with. There's a lot of stuff, it's kind of overwhelming. So I would like to hopefully clarify some things. Because Lord knows the game still has a ways to go in terms of clarifying things on its own terms. So first, here we have the main menu. This is the screen you see when you first open the game. And let's go over it piece by piece. So importantly, let's focus on this little window first. This is our list of towers. So it starts with the tutorial, and then there's a scroll bar here. There's a whole bunch of towers, and if you scroll all the way down, you'll even see some other ones. And everything up to Pop right here is included in the base game. But if you want any of these towers right here, you'll have to purchase the DLC. But these towers at the bottom of the list are also freely available, so keep that in mind. So if you ever want to play a particular tower, which in this case is basically just a level, you would click it and then press this game start button. So next up, let's look at this information up here. So this tells us about what the tower we're going to be playing is like. Here you can see it's labeled Chapter 1-2. That's just a basically flavor text. Then the title. Let's focus on this section right here. This is the score thresholds for the tower. Whenever you beat a tower, you'll basically be judged for your high score. And we'll talk about the scoring formulas later, but basically, if you score high enough, then you get a medal for the tower. So that's how that works. Then you can see over here, there's these this check mark, this star, and this crown. Basically, these three things are the things which you step on these things, you'll find one of these in the game, and when you step on it, you'll get your score, which is how you get these medals. And you can see the game also provides basically a subjective ranking of how difficult it'll be to touch each of these tiles, and also about how long, relatively speaking, you'll be playing the game before you find them. So that is the information that I think is necessary to cover. We won't cover what this is, or this, or too much about the scoring yet, but we will get into that later. So next up, let's look on this field right here. You can see I have a bunch of medals, and then this feather icon with a 7, and then the sunstone counter. If you're new to the game, then you won't be seeing the feather or anything right here, and you don't have to worry about that for now. But the sunstones that you've collected, which we'll get into later, can be found here, and your medals here. And if you click on this All Medals button, then you will basically get a comprehensive breakdown of where every medal and sunstone in the game that you've acquired has come from. And if you press this button, then it'll basically like combine these two numbers here into one. We'll explain what the split is later, but that's what the screen is. And if you ever find yourself like after you've played this game for a little bit, and maybe you've played a few towers but you're not sure which one to tackle next, but you have a community of people just wherever who you would like to ask for what should I play next, what you can do is you can take a screenshot of this board here and send it to them, and usually they'll be able to provide some sort of answer about what your most viable next step might be. So that's all the things on this screen which I think are necessary to explain for now. There's not much to talk about with this news ticker or these little buttons down here. So let's start the game for real. So first, let's explain what's going on here. So to start, where is the player character? Well, if you look hard enough, then you'll see that there's this flashing thing with a purple fox on it, and that is us. So we are this purple fox, and funnily enough, our name also happens to be Purple. That is our name. And if you ever press the Z key, or hold it down in this case, then purple will start waving at you. So that's where we are. So we can move with the arrow keys. Simple enough. We unfortunately cannot jump, but we can walk around, and we're on this little grid. And we picked up a key, and we can spend it to open this yellow door, or a yellow key block as it's called. The translation on this game doesn't use the most apt terms. I would say it's pretty verbose in some cases, but a yellow key, yellow door. So if we walk into it, then a pop-up will appear. Do you use the key? So you can use your mouse or your keyboard for this prompt. In this case, we do want to open it, so I'll press C, and it's opened. So now we have some enemies and some items. And if you use your mouse, then you can hover over an item to get information about it. And in an enemy's case, you can read its stats. And we'll explain these stats a little bit later on. But let's explain our stats first. So we have this health here. It starts at 1,000. This won't always be the case depending on what level you play. Then there's this attack value. This is the damage we deal to enemies. Defense. If you have more of it, then you take less damage. Then we have an experience meter here. This little rectangle here is basically just like a gauge for how much experience you have, and it fills up. And when it fills up, you'll be able to level up. And your level is here. And if you hover your mouse over it, then this strange blue window will appear. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's go over the rest of this UI. So up here, we have 2F, beginning layer. So this is the name of the floor that we are on. And then over here, we have some key displays. And if we hover over them, then it'll start flashing the key blocks in the room. Not every color is present here, but some are. Then we have some buttons here. Of note are the undo and redo. This one, you will not be seeing this one, but I will explain it in a later section. Then shift key plus cursor key, change direction. Basically what that's meaning is that if you hold the shift key and then you use the arrow keys, then you can turn in place without moving. And there are some niche uses for this, but you probably won't have a reason to be doing that anytime soon. So now let's focus our attention down here. So we have a lot of buttons, and these are all basically utilities. They will not help you in the game itself, but they are very useful for improving your gameplay flow, so to speak. So here is, this little section right here is for save slots. So if we use these arrow buttons, we have 99 slots you can see. Actually, I guess it's 100. No, it is 99. So 99 slots, and as you can see, there's some information on the pop-up here. This is basically, the game tells you what the game state is like if you happen to load this save file. But if you press the save game data button right here, then do you want to save? I'm not sure if I want to overwrite my save file, so I'll press no, but that is how you save your game. This takes a screenshot. I haven't personally found too much use for the game's built-in screenshot system, but it does exist. Then here's the load button. So do you want to load? Let's say yes. So we have loaded a game state. So that's how that works. Then if you click this button right here, that basically puts us right back where we were before. Next up, there's notes, a map, and prediction. We'll go over these later, and then options, and then returning to the main menu. So, now let's talk about our stats and battles in more detail. So, how battles work is you initiate a turn-based combat with this enemy by walking into it. And how the combat works is you basically hit it first, and then it hits you back, and then you hit it again, and you just trade blows until one of you dies. And if we fight this thing, let's watch this play out real quick. So that was pretty quick. And if we fight this one, you can see the numbers are pretty rapidly flicking. There's like my stats over here and the enemies on this little pop-up. But that's basically just to signify that a battle is taking place. So, let's go into the stats in a little bit more detail. So let's pick up this guard gem, and you'll see that that is, if you look at the damage counter, it is reduced by 6 compared to before we picked this up. So picking up this item gave us 2 defense, and if you look at the turn counter, it says 4 turns. Don't worry about why it's like doubled up there. So 4 turns, and we have 2 defense. So it's hitting us, well, is it hitting us 4 times? No, we are actually hitting it 4 times, and it's only hitting us 3 times, because we get the first turn advantage. So 4 turns means that it takes us 4 hits to kill the enemy. So it's hitting us 3 times, and 3 times 2, that's 6. And that lines up with the amount of damage that we've saved from picking up this item. So that's how the battle works. You'll find that it usually doesn't get much more complicated than this. So let's move on. So let's explore this room a bit. So here's a red potion. If we walk into it, then you can see that it gave us some health. And if we fight this enemy, and we pick up some more keys, let's pick up this blue potion, 800 health. And you can see everything's basically what it says on the tin. So next up, let's just keep going actually. Keep exploring, fighting enemies, picking up items, just sort of without a care in the world really. And if you heard that sound, I'll go ahead and play it again for you. What that means is that we just got enough experience to level up. So if you hear that chime, you might want to look over onto this side of the screen. So as you can see, the meter is filled up. It really wants us to level up, and we have these options here. So if we press to this one, then we've cashed in our level up and we got some attack from it. But let's say we want defense. Then we can do defense instead, and heck, we could even do keys. So that's how leveling up works. I think I'll do keys for now. While we're walking through this, let's explain some of the other stats over here. So there's these 2 100%, and what these are the health multiplier and the experience multiplier. And how you augment these is there are going to be some special items like this golden feather here and this life crown here, where if you collect them, then in the golden feathers case, you'll basically get more experience from every enemy you kill after having picked up that feather. So it's not a retroactive bonus, it's only applicable to the enemies you kill after picking it up. And a similar story for the life crown. This affects the health that you get from potions. So if you were to, let's say you pick up this blue potion, you can see it's 800 health, but let's say that you picked up this life crown. So you would have 130% health multiplier, and then you pick this up, and 800 times 130%, that's 800 plus, well actually let's just bust out our calculator. So you'll see my calculator, 800 times 1.3, so that's how much health we would be getting from it. And if you ignore the stuff going on right here, let's just verify that to be the case, plus 1040, seems pretty good. So there's one last thing to go over for the battles. If all the other stats made sense so far, so let's explain these actually. So Junior Fighter, level 1. The level is For now, it's just a flavor stat. It basically just gives you a relative idea of how strong this enemy is, but it's not inherently important yet. The health, that's how much health it has. If you reduce it to 0, then the enemy dies. Then attack and defense, we've already explained those. Experience is 2, and you'll notice there's a 2 in parentheses to the side. And what that basically means is the 2 in parentheses is its base value. And the 2 outside the parentheses is how much experience it gives if you were to fight this enemy with a golden feather with basically higher experience multiplier. So if you had, let's say, 150% experience multiplier and you fought this, then you would get 3 experience from it instead of 2. And that would read as, let's go ahead and pick one up. In fact, let's go ahead and pick another one up. 160%. So now it reads as 3-2. And you'll notice that it's not a decimal value. In this game, numbers round down, so that you'll never find any fractional values. So that's experience. Next up, it drops a guard piece. So every enemy has its own unique drop. So in the junior slasher's case, it's a power piece. In this case, it's a guard piece. In this case, it's a yellow key. And in this case, the enemy drops nothing. So to give an idea of how item drops work, you kill it, and then it drops the item. Simple as that. And in each enemy's case, every enemy will always drop the same item, but what items they drop will vary depending on what tower you're playing. But usually how it works is a fighter class of enemy will drop a defense item, a slasher class of enemy will drop an attack item, a ranger class of enemy will drop a health item, and then a burgeoner class of enemy, which you won't find in the tutorial, but you will find in later towers. It usually either doesn't have a drop, or it'll drop a key in rare cases. And then there's also this shadow here, and these are the dedicated key dropping enemies. So if you fight it, you can see it dropped a key. So hopefully that makes sense so far, but there's one last stat which we have yet to explain, and that is this red TRT here. So TRT plus 7 attack, what does that mean? Well, TRT is an acronym. It stands for 2 reduced turns. And in fact, if you look at this little rectangle that pops up here whenever we're looking at an enemy, it'll basically give you a comprehensive breakdown of what the battle is like. So 53 times 6, that means that we are doing 53 damage to it, and it'll take us 6 turns times that 53 attack to match its health, then 200 damage, so minus 191. That is the effective damage that it is doing to us each turn, because we have 9 defense, so 200 minus 9 is 191. Then 0 is its defense, and 53 is the damage we're dealing to it. Experience is here. This is the base, and this is the final value. The enemy portrait is here, and you can see what item it drops here. And 2 reduced turns plus 7 attack. So what this means is currently it does 6 turns, or it takes 6 turns to kill this thing. So if we wanted to take 1 less turn to kill it, which means it also has 1 less turn of attacking us, then we would need 7 attack to make that happen. So let's pick up this 2 attack item and watch that number decrease to 5. So we picked up another 2, and now we've saved a turn. And now the number is reset to 15, and that's how much damage we'll need to, how much attack we'll need to reduce another turn. So that's how TRT works. It's a very important number, and one which you will be consulting a lot while playing this game. So next up, we've gone over a lot of the basics. So now let's explain some extra controls. So you might have noticed that I've been rewinding time. I've been doing that by holding Control and pressing Z. You can also hold it. And if you hold Control and press Y, then you can actually redo. An important thing of note is that if you rewind, but then you do something different, you can no longer redo, and that basically becomes the top of your undo log. So this little blue section here, this is basically just a log of everything you've done up to now. And this one thing here with the yellow box around it is basically, it's where we are right now in the sequence. So if we undo, then it's going down, but if we redo, then it's going up. So that's how undo and redo works. Then save slots, we've already explained this. So there is a little bit more to explain. So you might notice this strange box that's popped up if you hover over these. So this is our backup and autosaves. And these are basically extra save slots which are created automatically. You can see there's one for before restart, there's one before quit, and then there's 6 autosaves. I believe the game autosaves every between 10 and 15 minutes. And if you click one and say yes, then bam, you've used an autosave. So if you ever run into an emergency where you forgot to save for some reason, chances are this will have your back, especially this before restart and before quit one. So always keep that in mind. So next up, let's focus on how tower traversal works. So we've been on this floor for quite a while now, but you might notice there's some stairs here. And if we make our way to it, I'm just going to basically run through the motions here. So we finally navigated our way to these stairs. And now if we walk onto them, then we're on a new floor. And importantly, you'll notice that if we walk off, there's these downstairs, and that means that we can actually walk back. So traversal is 2 ways, and you can go upstairs and downstairs in this game. Of course, there will sometimes be extra travel limitations, but it is important to know that you can backtrack. It'll be very important for basically everything about how you sequence in this game. So another feature to explain is the map preview. So as you explore the floors, you might be in a position where you're curious what's on the next floor, but you don't want to walk there, or you want to see what's on a floor 10 screens ago, but you don't want to walk there. Then what you can do is you can either press F, or you can press the page up and page down keys. And in this view, you'll see that purple's disappeared. We're basically just viewing the map from a top-down view now. So if we press the buttons according to here, let's say we press page up. Then now we're viewing the next floor upstairs, and if we press page down, we're back to where we were before. Press down again, this is the first room. And if we hold the C key to compare, then we can see what the room was like before we did anything in it. And this is sometimes important. If you ever are like curious if you picked something up at the wrong time, did a battle at the wrong time, then you can use this function to pretty quickly compare. Now a caveat to using this map function is that it will only show you rooms that you have explored so far. So the reason that I'm able to show you this room is because I've already visited it in a previous playthrough of the game. So you will have to basically unlock the right to view each floor of the map. But once you do, it's unlocked permanently, and you can preview the map at any time. So that's how the map view works. And now, it's time to talk about some more complicated features. So you might remember earlier that we talked about medals and high scores. And how that works is, let's go for a while. So you'll notice on this floor, there's this little check mark which says clear on it. There are going to be tiles like this in the towers you play, and when you step on them, you'll get a score. And in fact, it might be it might be imperative to load up a save file where we already have something like that. So let's step on this. So you can see we have our score calculation here. And let's break it down real quick. So you can see in this section right here, this is the important part. This is our current score and how it's being calculated. So you can see it's adding up our health, and then it's adding our attack times our level times 1, and our defense times our level times 1. And it's summing up all of these, and then this total score is being compared against this little table on the right. It's the same table you'll see in the main menu, and we have 3 million, a little bit over it, and that is just enough to reward us with a silver medal. So that's how scoring works. You will probably be wondering, well, what's up with this times 1? And that is because there is a difference between clears of certain varieties. So this one's obscured. Let me see if there's a better save. Here we go. So here's one with the star on it instead of the check mark. You will see that this time it says times 5 instead of times 1. So basically, a good way to internalize it is the farther you get in a tower, the better the score formula will be. And in the case of the early game, there's only 3 important tiles. There's the times 1 check mark, there's the times 5 star, and then there's a times 10 crown, which you will see in towers like Mini, for instance. And obviously you can see that as you progress through the tower, you'll inevitably be increasing your score, and that's how you get medals. So next up, let's talk about how we use those medals. So let's restart the game, and you might have been wondering what I did at the start. So if you see this, M key, so left click or M key to warp to Nexus Room. So let's click it, or we can press M, and that is what took us here. And this is a room where you can basically spend medals and Sunstones. And you can see down here, this is basically a comprehensive breakdown of everything we have. If you look at the thing on the main menu, it's basically exactly the same. And we can spend these medals on these metal blocks, like so, to open them. And you'll see that there's these expended ones darkened down here, and then there's the rest of the ones which we actually have right here. One important thing of note is that a higher ranking of metal can actually be used to open a lower grade of block. So for example, a diamond medal can be used to open a bronze, and a gold medal can open a silver, everything like that. And these 2 special ones down here are the moon and sun medals. You will probably not be seeing them for a long time, especially if you don't have the DLC. But they're basically just better than diamond, and sun is better than moon. That's all you really need to know. So now, let's talk about Sunstones, because we've just sort of been glossing over them the whole time. But Sunstones are basically a secondary resource that you get if you beat a tower. So back to here, you can see gold medal. What you want to see is that if you were to cash out this score, then you would also get 3 Sunstones for it. And how Sunstones work is basically for each metal tier you get, you'll also get 1 Sunstone to match. So if you get bronze, then you'll get 1 Sunstone, then silver 2, gold 3, platinum 4, and then diamond 5. So that's how gaining Sunstones works. Then there's also this 6th ranking here, and that will tie into our next point, which is there are 2 types of runs you can do in this game. And the 2 types, the thing that disambiguates them is pretty simple. Basically, if you spend medals, then you are doing what's called an Impure run. And the thing about an Impure run is that it will not give you Sunstones. But if you don't spend medals, then you will get Sunstones for your scoring. Now let's talk about how we use these Sunstones. So you'll notice these little silver cups with a little symbol over them. What these do is they basically, if you walk up it and use them, then they'll spend a Sunstone and they'll give you a little boost. So you can see this is giving us attack. And let's walk over here. And this one's going to give us defense. Doesn't seem like there's much else to use right now. But that's how these work. Now an important thing is that while you cannot use metals in a run that'll give you Sunstones, so metals will make you do an Impure run, which doesn't give Sunstones, but you can use these Sun Wishers, which is what these little cups are called, and that will allow you to gain Sunstones from a run. Now, there is one last little quirk to all of this, which is explaining what this number is on the top. You'll notice that it has a plus on it instead of just being a number like this one. And basically what this means is it's a threshold that keeps on going even after you've gotten the maximum metal. And it's got the icon of a sunstone. And what this means is basically, if you were to get the diamond medal, which is 20 million, but then you scored 2 million over it, so let's say you had 22 million, then what that would do is for every 2 million you get over this, you'll actually get an extra sunstone. Of course, you have to get the diamond medal first before this number will become relevant. But once you do, that's a secondary way of gaining sunstones. And what's important about this is that this mechanic actually ignores the pure run, impure run split. So let's talk about something else real quick, actually. We're going to change towers to emphasize this point more. Let's go to Tactical Tutorial. And let's just open our way into here. So you'll notice in these towers that there's these little staircases that are blocked off by a lot of metals. And you've probably been wondering, like, what's the point of using metals if you don't get sunstones for it? Well, the point is that you can use them to, A, get just higher tier metals without getting sunstones. And in this case, you'll also be able to unlock new sections of the tower. So I'm not going to show off too much of here, but you can see that this is an entirely different realm than anything else. And this is usually where the highest scoring formula tile is located, but you will usually not be able to access these areas until you're much later along in the meta progression. But if you do, then that is how you'll be able to get the highest metal ranks. So a diamond. Let's load this save file. So you can see if you were to beat the Nexus stage, then like here's the score. You can see we have a diamond medal and a sunstone with a 13. So we cleared this 10 million threshold, so that's what's giving us the diamond. And then we're basically 13 times this 1.5 million over it, and that's giving us an extra 13 sunstones. And that is how you get sunstones from an impure run, which is why you will want to spend metals eventually. So that's how the impure and pure split works for the most part. Now there is, I guess, one last little thing to discuss. I figure it's finally time to explain what this weird mystery symbol is. So if you don't have the DLC for this game, then you won't be seeing this. It's specifically if you have Chapter 6 and afterwards, that you'll basically unlock what are effectively hard modes of these towers, where every enemy will become way stronger. You can see that the damage numbers are quite a bit larger than they were before, but in exchange you will unlock 2 new mechanics. So there's one called Legacy and one called Magic. How it works is basically there are extra tools you can use to beat these hard modes, but obviously that's sort of outside the scope of what you'll be dealing with as a beginner, so I'll just leave it at that. But that is a new option that you will eventually unlock for these towers, but it's very late into the game. So now, we've gone over the scoring, we've gone over how metals and sunstones work. I probably didn't explain the sunstone and metal stuff too well, but for now I think I'll have to live with that. Let's talk about some more base mechanics. So let's go to Tower P, which you will have available in the base game. So you'll start here, and there's this little pop-up that appears. But let's look at this Mattock. So you pick it up, and now we've got 10 of these. And you'll see these little dirt blocks with items inside of them. But if you bash your head against them, you won't actually get anywhere. So you have to hold the D key and then move into them, and that's how you dig them out. And then they'll generate these items for you to pick up. So that's how using Mattocks works. And you'll also, if you were a keen observer, that you'll notice that this new symbol has appeared. This is basically, it's unique to certain towers. You will not always see this symbol. It's only for certain towers, such as Tower P here. And if you press it, then we're taken to this whole new zone. And basically, this zone it's separate from the one that we're in here. You can think of it as basically driving two characters in parallel. But our stats will be shared, and the items we pick up will be shared. And that's an important mechanic that you will have to learn in order to play some of these towers, but not all of them. Towers which have this like S to warp system are pretty rare, all things considered. But it is an important thing to keep in mind, because if you don't know about that mechanic, then you'll hit a wall eventually. But this won't matter unless specifically you're playing Tower G or Tower P. But every other tower doesn't have this mechanic. So next up, we've explained dig blocks and S-warp. So now let's go to some later mechanics. And we're going to use Tactical Mystery to demonstrate this, which is another one which you should have access to. So let's click Game Start. And first off, we've got some orbs here, little colorful things with things inside them. And you'll notice there's this little display here. This is where our orbs show up. These normally only appear in Chapter 4 towers and afterwards. But in Mystery, you can get a taste of them early. So each one has a different effect. Let's start with the Swap Orb. Basically what the Swap Orb does is, if you're looking at something and you use the Swap Orb, then you can swap with it, just like that. And you'll see it goes to where you were before, and you go to where it was. It will not work if you're looking at a wall, or if you're just looking at nothing in general. So it doesn't work on tiles, but it does work on items. And it also works on enemies. And in fact, it works on much more. So next up, what's this Pavement Orb? So this one, its special effect is it turns a block into something walkable. So that was a wall before, but now it's walkable space. And how about this water here? Well, Pavement Orb can turn that into walkable space as well. However, if we go up to this block with a little strike through, the Pave Orb cannot be used on it. And that is a consistent detail. If you see the strike through, then you cannot pave it. Now for this last orb, the Teleport Orb, sometimes referred to colloquially as the Jump. What it does is, it makes you jump. And it's specifically 2 tiles in the direction you're facing. And that is, in fact, one of these cases where if you hold Shift and then press an arrow key, then you can turn without moving, and that is important for using items like the swap or the jump. So that's how orbs work. And if you're a keyboard player, then you can also hold the A button and then press left or right to select an orb, and then press the C button to use the orb. So now, let's do a little bit more exploring. We're going to be ignoring a lot of stuff, but let's use the swap orb. And you can see the swap even takes place across water. However, if there's a thing blocking the line of sight, then you cannot swap. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. But now is a time to start talking about some special things called equipment. So you will not find equipment in every tower. The first tower where you'll officially be introduced to equipment is Tutorial 3. But in Mystery, you can get an early taste of them. And how equipment works is they will have a base stat. And you can see it reads attack plus 6 times level. And what that means is you get an attack bonus, and that bonus is equivalent to 6 times your level. But it's not when you pick it up that this bonus is applied, but rather while you're owning it. So if you see I pick this up now, I got 6 attack for it. But let's say I use this Glory Orb item, which allows me to level up instantly. Then let's say I level up. And now I pick this up. Now I've gotten 12 from it. And that is because our level is 2, and 2 times 6 is 12, so that's the bonus that we got. You'll also see it has a passive effect. Not every equipment has a passive effect, but some do. And in this one's case, it affects these heavenly potion items, like right here. You even see there's a little bonus ticker. Let's pick up a crown, make them a little bit more valuable. But back to equipment, the bonus is basically, again, to reiterate, it's not when you first pick it up, it's while you have it. So if we were to level up now, let's say defense, you can see that we still got an attack bonus from it because our level is now 3. So we got 6 more attacks since when we first picked it up. So that's how equipment works. And in fact, I do think I would like to pick up some more equipment. So here's a Fate Claymore. You can see its base stat is 20. So if we pick this up, then we're getting quite a little bit more attack from that. Quite a little bit. Good wording, I know. And then there's this Prism Shield. And this one has a base stat of 24 times level defense. And if you hover over it here, you can also see it has its own passive effect, defense plus 20 for each level up. And what that means is, if we were to level up now, then this equipment is providing us a bonus for every level that we have. So you can see the bonus flashes there. So that is how passive equipment bonuses work in regards to level ups. Sometimes you'll even get an equipment that allows you to active level up, which is basically you have to choose it as its own option instead of picking one of the 2 ones that'll show up here. The level up bonuses vary from tower to tower. If we rewind a little bit, actually, basically going through the same motions, but let's say that we hold on to our level ups and we do this twice. Well, you can see that since the equipment bonus is applied twice, we've gotten a whole extra 20 defense than we would have otherwise. And that is a mechanic that we call level banking, or level storing, or level holding. Any name works, but the act of holding on to levels for items which will have a powerful effect, such as equipment. There's also some other more complicated items to explain, like items which give you stats depending on your level. Those can be explained in the game itself. I don't think there's too much reason to go to them in detail. But that's how equipment works. There is one last thing I think is worth showing off. So let's go all the way here. And there's this special orb called the Blizzard Orb. Now it's pretty rare that you'll actually be using this, even as far as like the base tower set, which includes them, is concerned. But what the Blizzard Orb does is it basically has a few effects. The first one is that when you use it, if a room has water in it, then all of that water will become walkable ice. So now you can walk on it. The second effect is that if you use a Blizzard Orb, then you can see there's this ice door here, but then there's this green door. It's called the winner's key block because that's just the key that you need to unlock it. But if you use the Blizzard Orb, then that door actually turns into an ice door. And if there was a key in this room, then that key would also turn into an ice key. And basically what that means is that this orb is sort of like a key and door equalizer, depending on what room you use it in. And also, while we're here, let's go ahead and get this equipment. Let's use our orbs. So we swapped this guy. There's this arrow tile here. If we step on it, then nothing seems to be happening, but if we do, in fact, pick up an orb, like right here, then you can see that what's happening is it's basically ejecting us onto the tile it's facing. And there are a few ways around this. The first is you can pave it. There are a lot of things you can pave in this game, as long as they don't have a strike through. Importantly, doors and dig blocks, this is a dig block, but it might not be immediately obvious, cannot be paved, but arrows can. And another way around this is actually considered a, it's not a sightline blocker, which means that we can swap through it and go through here. That is important information that you will need to know in some cases. And we can also jump over it. So there's several ways around the arrow tile, but if you don't have orbs, then you're probably going to have to play by their rules. So that's how equipment and orbs work. And now, for this potentially final section, let's talk about the quality of life features that this game has to offer. So let's go back to Tower New. So first thing we'll go over is turbo mode. So if you hold the X key, then the game's FPS will increase. And basically that just means that if you move, then you can move really fast with the X key held. And basically everything about the game will speed up while you are in turbo mode. Of course, you might not always want to be in turbo mode. Next up is mouse movement. So if you are a player who likes using the mouse and doesn't like how cumbersome it is to move with the arrow keys sometimes, then what you can do is you can hold Z and click a tile to move there. Or you can also hold right click and do the same thing. And you might notice that there's this little worm. This is the anchor hook, and it just shows you what path you're going to take. So that's how you can move with the mouse. And in fact, a little pro tip from me to you, if you hold Z and X and you click, then you're in turbo mode and you're also mouse moving. And this is what I consider to be a very effective way of getting around. Very fast. It beats using the arrow keys in a lot of situations, but if you don't like using the mouse, then arrow keys is fine, and you can use turbo mode to walk a little bit faster. So next up, let's talk about key reservation. So you've seen these keys and doors already, we've explained them before, but if you hold the A button and right click them, then you can reserve them. And what this does is it basically just says that you intend to open this door later. So it's purely a visual thing, but you'll also notice that this little R number has appeared, reserved 1. That's what that means. And if you do another one, you can see reserved 2. So if we open this door, then you can see the reservation has dropped down to 1. And indeed, now there aren't any more reserved opens. So this is a very useful system for basically deciding what doors you'd like to open in advance. And in fact, there is a sort of counterpart to this mechanic. You've probably been wondering what's up with this little ghost here. I do have some mouse over information that's just sort of interfering with what it would normally show. But basically, if you talk to the ghost, then what it does is it'll open up this page. And basically, this is your save file slots. So you can scroll through your save file slots, and let's say that I'm interested in, let's say, number 4. Game crashed. Alright. Alright, it's gonna be a little bit of a while before I get the game open again. I forgot that the game crashes if you try to use that feature with an old save slot. I did not account for that, but no worries. We'll have the game back open in no time. So, welcome back to reality. That wasn't too much of a time waster, I hope. So let's actually use this as intended. So let's do this and just open a bunch of doors. And now let's just make a slot in 85. So we save our game, we restart, and if we talk to the ghost and go to slot 85 and click apply, then that basically it shows a reservation for all of the doors that you opened in that save file. And this is very good if you want to compare your current run with one that you did before. And typically what people will do is they will make save files either at a key moment in the run or when they've cleared the tower. And for a clear tower save file, that's typically the best for key reservations because all you have to do is just open the same doors you did before. So that's how you use the key reservation feature, as well as this little ghost. Its official name is Memories of Zero, but again, the names are quite verbose in this game. So next up, let's go over some other features. So let's go to this, write notes. So if we press the N key, then we have a little notepad here, and we can click anywhere on it. Let's say, hello world, and just click apply. So we've created a memo, and that's what this little blue square with the memo text is. It's just a note, and you can leave notes for yourself. And now let's focus on this little page. What this is basically just a bunch of symbols you can put on it. So let's say, let's pick here. So now you can see it has a little signpost. This is purely visual stuff, but it's good for if you're wanting to be a little bit more of an organized note taker. And if we wanted to delete this note, then we can go ahead and click this discard button, so it's gone now. And now, let's do a little bit something. So let's go through this room. Go through the motions. You'll see why I'm doing this later. So let's say that we've explored what we wanted to of this room, and we just killed this burgeoner. And let's say that we want a point of comparison for the next time we run this. What we can do is we can make a note, and we'll use this green status stamp button. And what that does is it basically generates a comprehensive view of all of your stats at the time of creating this little note. So now, if you hover over it, you can see basically everything that matches onto what our current stats are. And if we reset the game, let's say that we were to play a little bit more efficiently. So something like this. Now we'll go back to where we were before. And now let's step on our node again. And now you can see we can compare our current stats with the ones on this old node that we used the status stamp for. And in fact, we could even overwrite the status stamp. So that is our new best for when we get to this little specific tile. And that is a very important feature which you'll want to use to basically improve your workflow, get an idea of what you're doing, and if it's good or not, and how good or bad it is compared to your previous runs. So that's how you use that feature. Next up on this list of mechanics to explain, let's hold the space button. You can see this brings up a little page here. It has a bunch of enemies on it, and it's even iterating over all of their stats, including their item drops, their damage that they do to us, the turn reduction value for how much attack we need. And if we hover over them, you'll also see these little squares pop up. This is basically highlighting where they are on the map. So you can use this to get a good idea of where every enemy is. And next up, a related feature. So let's say we press the 1 key on our keyboard, or hold it down more specifically. This gives us an item breakdown. There's actually 2 versions of this. The first one is, it's basically just for the room you're in. But if you hold down the 2 key, then there's this other one. And this is basically a comprehensive item breakdown for the entire tower. This was a recently added feature, and it's quite overwhelming to look at first, but let's break it down. So first, this is every item that appears in the tower. You can see there's some weird ones that you might not have seen yet. And if you hover over them, then let's click this to just sort of lock it in. So let's read this: 22 held by enemies and 153 on the map. So this number includes the ones held by enemies. And if you look at this ranger here, it drops a red potion. So that's what it means in that case. So 22 and 153. So if you ever wanted to know how many of these red potions are in the tower, this is how you do it. And now, what about this stuff? So this is a view of the entire tower. All the different floors are basically represented in these little squares. So this is the floor that we're currently on. Then this one would be the one underneath us. Then this one would be the upstairs. Then 2 stairs above that, and so on. Then there's also the ones in the metal room and the Nexus stage. And I believe, so you can click these to basically exclude or include them in this little breakdown on the right for how many there are. And that's how you use this. Let's say that we wanted to do it for heavenly potions. You could see there's 1 on this floor, but 0 held by enemies. And I believe that does match up. There's 1 down here, but no enemies drop it. So that's how you use this little item breakdown. And this little star rating here, you might be curious what that is. That is purely flavor. It's basically just to give an idea of how valuable the item is. Not every item is super valuable, but some are. You can see this Eternal Potion is, I believe, the highest ranked item, and for good reason. This thing doubles your health, so it's an extremely powerful item if you can get it. But again, it doesn't mean anything more than just giving a relative idea of how good this item is. I believe one more thing to explain about this system is that similar to the map preview, I'm pretty sure it will not include rooms that you haven't seen yet. So I'm pretty sure you might not see all of these if you haven't been to them in a prior run before. But I think that is it for this little item display. So now, to close things off, let's talk about configuration. So here's some options which you might find important. So BGM volume, if you don't like the level up sound, then you could turn that off. If you don't like the music, then you can turn that down. In fact, you can also hold. I like the music, as long as I'm not listening to music of my own, or on my own, that is. But that's the sound. Then there's visual functions. Here's an HP gauge. It just gives you an idea of the highest health value you've reached and your current health relative to that. It's not too useful beyond that, but I know for some it might be an important number to keep track of. Always light up. To explain what this is it basically allows you to constantly play as if you were holding Z or right click. So now you can just click and go wherever. And if you hold X, then you can go even faster. So let's turn this off again. View HP gauge, comma display. You can do this to add commas to the numbers. You can hide the enemy stats from the mouse hover information if you want to. Sometimes you don't really care about those numbers, but sometimes you do. Then there's some new options. I'd say give some of these a read. After you've played for a little bit, you can decide for yourself whether you care to bother with these settings. But I will go over some important ones in the Control tab. So the first one is Battle Skip. So this whole time, we've been playing out this little animation whenever we fight an enemy, but if we turn on Battle Skip, then the battle's skipped entirely. So we don't have to watch that animation anymore, and that will make your runs of the game way faster, especially if you're dealing with an enemy which has like 50,000 turns, which is a thing which will actually happen in this game. So you will want that setting in some cases. The next one is block HP items on mouse move. And what that means is if we... Let's rewind a little bit. So if we use the mouse move, you can see it does that. We're picking up that item along the way. But let's say that we want to hold off on collecting these health items until our health multiplier is larger. Then what we can do is we can turn on this option, and now our pathfinding will avoid it. So now we go right around it. We don't pick up health items when we use the mouse movement anymore. And that will be quite useful. Let's pick up our health multiplier. But now say we do want to pick it up, you can just click directly onto it, and that will override it, so now you can pick these up. Otherwise, it'll just continue to navigate around. So that's a pretty important setting. Let's see if there's any more useful ones here. Move after defeating enemy. Basically, that's what it says on the tin. If you mouse move to defeat an enemy, then it'll auto move you to pick up the item that dropped. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. Always turbo mode, that just basically means if you've always had if you want to like always move fast, such as when you have the X key held. Start with Nexus Room. That basically just automatically takes you to here at the start of a tower. High speed dig and dig on contact. These are for if you're ever using the dig block and Mattocks mechanics. Register arrow step to undo log. Basically what that means is that if you ever like have an arrow tile and you want to basically be able to undo crossing over it, since the undo isn't turn by turn, but rather like in discrete steps where major actions happen, then you can use this setting to allow you to backtrack over an arrow tile. Faster activation of orbs. Normally there's an orb animation, but I have it turned off by having this setting turned to on. And then another new setting down here, if you if you have a lot of Sunstones but you want to spend them quickly, then you hold X, and then you can see that spending them specifically in increments of 10, and you can use this option to make them spend more or less. So that's how that works. I believe we might be close to explaining all the basics now. We haven't really gone too much over strategies, but let's cap it off. Basically just a walk back through everything we've learned. So arrow keys to move, we can pick up items, we can fight enemies, use the mouse to read their information, we can pick up items. Let's say that we want to open these doors, so we can A and right click to reserve them. We can just pick these up. When you kill enough of these, you hear the little ding sound, so you can level up. And we'll pick keys in this case. Open all of these. And we can compare our current stats with this memo on the ground. We can enter another floor of the tower. We can press page up and page down, or also alternatively the F key to preview the rooms of the tower if we've already visited them. Let's level up again. Let's say blue keys. Something like that. And let's say that we take a big battle, but we don't actually want to. We can rewind. We can also redo. That's how all that works. We can use the mouse to move around. We can't move across this arrow tile since it's one way. But we can open doors, and we can do all sorts of other stuff. We can preview the battle information here with the mouse, or down here with this little rectangle, or by holding space, we can also do that here. You can hold 1 or 2 to get an item breakdown either in the room or in the tower. You can press the M key to go to the metal room. You can spend metals or sunstones to get a boost. So now, these do a lot less damage. Of course, if you don't have sunstones, then you won't be able to do that. You clear a tower to get metals and sunstones, but to reiterate, you do not want to spend metals if you want to get sunstones until you have enough to challenge the Nexus stage, which is guarded on these pretty hefty metal costs in these Nexus metal rooms. If you go to these stairs and challenge the Nexus stage and beat it, then you'll usually be able to get the highest metal ranking and also be able to score over it, which will sometimes reward you with sunstones. So that's an extra challenge for after you've proven your metal. Let's go back to the title screen. Just sort of going to close out the video now. So that was all of the most important things to know about this game. I haven't explained too many of the mechanics in detail. There's obviously a lot of them. Some towers even have unique mechanics, like these three. And if I were explaining every tower's mechanic, then we would be here forever, but I think it can be up to you to figure out how certain things work. Which items are valuable, which ones aren't, which things you should base your strategy around, what keys you should take, things like that. And of course, at the end of the day, after you've beaten a bunch of towers, you can always come back to this screen and see all of the rewards that you've gotten. And go to this screen, you can see just a comprehensive look of how much progress you've made in the game. So that is how you play Tactical Nexus. Good luck playing the towers themselves. I do have some videos of me playing some of these towers to give sort of a strategic look into some of them, but you can also figure things out for yourself. And of course, I haven't been using my Sunstones and Metals in my video series, but if you have Metals and Sunstones, then you can find ways to improve on my runs in ways which I could not. There's a lot to this game. I've been here for like close to 900 hours now. Probably only going up from here. There's a whole bunch to play. There's still some towers I haven't even beaten yet. So yeah, you'll be here for a while. And I hope this has been somewhat enlightening. It's very dense. And the mechanics and settings and quality of life features are not always very well explained, but I hope I was able to clarify at least a little bit of it for you. So, I believe I will leave it at that. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you can start to play the game now. See you next time.